Welcome to the Gingerspyce Tiefling Druid, episode 17. In this episode, I'm going to be soloing Enter the Kobold in Mount Racelon in the Reaver's Refuge, and I am level 17. On the gear side, there is absolutely nothing new to mention. In fact, all this gear will be the same that I wear right up through level 19 and won't be changing any of it until 20. So I'm not going to go over the gear. I'll just mention that I did pick up the major petrifying runestones, which are level 17. This now has a DC of 39 fort save on the petrify. So that's not bad for level 17. Certainly not great, but worth using because they're basically free. And sometimes it can be a nice way to mitigate a nasty champ or something. On the enhancement side, I did pick up the Student of Darkness in the Tiefling tree. It says, while in Obscuring Darkness, you gain plus 3 saving throws, plus 3 magical resistance rating, and plus 15 magical resistance cap. I don't think the cap is going to help me, but a more traditional like robe wearing or maybe light armor wearing caster would probably benefit from that more than I would, because they're going to have a lower MRR cap. I don't really have much to report in terms of using the Obscuring Darkness. I just picked it up again last level, but I've been forgetting that I had it, and I haven't really used it much. But I do plan to keep this from here right up through the rest of the series, and then hopefully I'll have more to say about it by then. I'll make a decision whether or not I want to keep it, more towards endgame. The other thing I picked up is I maxed out Elemental Mastery. So you gain 15 additional spell power in your season, and Druid level 17 and above, and that's why I didn't make it a priority to get this until 17. Druid 17 and above, changing into Fire Elemental form now grants you brief version of Anger of the Noonday Sun effect. Changing to Water Elemental form grants you similar version of Mantle Icy Soul. So this was just a nice little convenience thing that they put in there. When you're in Water Elemental form, you definitely want to be running with Mantle Icy Soul, and when you're in Fire Elemental form, you definitely want to be running with Anger of the Noonday Sun. And so when you're switching back and forth, you no longer need to cast it on yourself if you have this, because it's going to automatically apply it. It is worth mentioning that as of update 38, they made significant improvements to Anger of the Noonday Sun. It used to be practically worthless. I mean, it almost did nothing, but now it does some interesting things. In fact, they improved upon both. Mantle Icy Soul is generally the same as it was before. However, one new component of it is that you can now bust through immunities to cold with it. So here's Mantle the Icy Soul, which was automatically applied when I switched to Water Elemental form. And I don't think that gives me the full explanation of it. So let's go here. You're shrouded in the Mantle of Icy Soul. This targets the targets of your cold spells take 25% penalty to movement speed, same as before. 10% penalty to attack speed, same as before. -4 penalty to reflex and fortitude saves, same as before. But this is what's new. If your target is resistant or immune to cold damage, they now take full damage. It says this does not stack with effects that cause targets to become more vulnerable to cold. Interesting. So you're fighting a skeleton, for example. They're immune to cold. The way it works is the first time, if you have Mantle Icy Soul going, the first time you hit them with a cold spell, they'll be immune, but it applies that debuff, and then successive cold attacks will do full damage. And it's a debuff that lasts like a decent amount of time. It's like 30 seconds or so. And then every time you're casting cold spells on it, it just reapplies it. So it's not like something you're going to have to keep doing. It's kind of automatic if you're running with Mantle Icy Soul. And then Anger of the Noonday Sun, which is automatically applied. I'll switch to Water or Fire Elemental form. You can see it's automatically applied. And you're enveloped with Anger of the Noonday Sun. Your target of your fire spells suffer 8% fortification penalty. So I believe it's a little higher than before. If your target is resistant or immune to fire damage, they will now take full damage. So it's the same kind of thing where, the first time you hit it with fire damage, like an Iron Golem, for example, they would be healed by that first hit, but then successive fire attacks would do regular damage to it. So you can damage a an iron golem with fire damage now. It's pretty cool. So Anger of the Noonday Sun does not have as many cool things on it as Mantle of the Icy Soul, but it's still, now it is definitely worth using because overcoming fire immunities is a pretty damn cool ability. Now, I also want to say about Mantle of the Icy Soul, this is really neat. I'll be running in water elemental form for this, and it says your targets take a -4 penalty to reflex and fortitude saves. So the reflex side is like, that would affect your earthquake DC. This is functionally like improving your earthquake DC by 4 effectively. And so I always like to couple Ice Storm with earthquake, and so now when they're getting hit by that ice storm, they're going to have -4 to the reflex save, making them more likely to fall down in my earthquakes. Also, with my Finger of Death, this applies a useful debuff to a target. So if I'm going to hit a mob with Finger of Death, I don't have the greatest DC for Finger. It's a 43, decent, but it's not stellar. But I can hit them with my SLA version of Creeping Cold, which is essentially free. That applies a -4 fortitude save penalty to them, so that I can hit them quickly with that SLA and then hit them with Finger of Death, and that's giving a -4 to their save, so making my Finger of Death more effective when I'm running in water elemental form. So very cool. I also want to show you, I mentioned earlier that when you change elemental forms, it automatically changes seasons for you. So before it showed your seasons up in the buff bar, but it doesn't anymore because these are stances. You can see summer is now active. I switched to water elemental form, and winter is active now. It automatically changes those for you. You can switch manually if you want. If you want to be in water elemental form and run in summer season, you can, and vice versa. But it will automatically switch those for you, as well as automatically apply Mantle and Anger of the Noonday Sun if you have your elemental mastery maxed out. On the feat side, nothing new to mention at level 17 other than you get your final wild shape form. And so your second elemental form, in this case I chose water elemental form because I chose fire at 13. So I'll be running in water elemental form pretty much from here on out, but I might, especially for heroics, I might be switching back and forth depending on the quest or situationally. On the spell side, so I picked up Regeneration Mass. That is a, like I said before, it's a really great heal over time spell. It does heal negative levels, it does heal ability damage and some other effects, so very, very cool. And I picked up the regular version of Storm of Vengeance. We'll be getting that as an SLA next level, but right now I have the regular version. And this is a evocation spell that does 2 types of damage. It does acid damage and does electrical damage. Now the acid damage has no save to it, and that's the main damage type of this spell. So it's just like, like an ice storm or something. It's like an AoE damaging spell, and it stays for 30 seconds. Shorter in Reaver mode, of course. So the acid damage, there's no save versus that, but it also shoots like random lightning bolts every few seconds. And those lightning bolts, which just hit one target at a time, that does have a reflex save for half. But that's, it's the acid damage that is the biggest damage part of it. So. Alright. Oh yeah, I also picked up Freezing Spray, level 7 spell, now that I have water elemental form, because, well, you can only cast that while you're in water elemental form. But it says it douses an opponent in freezing spray, giving the target 25% cold vulnerability. Targets with this vulnerability take 25% extra damage from all sources of cold damage. And it also has, like it says, once the effect wears off, it cannot be reapplied for 30 seconds. That same mob has, like, once it wears off, there's another buff on it, debuff on it, that's like counting down until you can affect that mob again with it. Don't think there's anything else to mention here. Just want to make sure, in case I forgot to mention in an earlier episode, that for Earthquake I do turn off Empower and Maximize. This is a spell point savings. Earthquake does do some untyped damage, but it's not very much, and as far as I'm concerned, not at all worth applying Empower and Maximize to it. I want to be able to spam this spell. I want to keep the cost low. And, like I said, the amount of damage it does just doesn't warrant adding maximize it in power. If it was a significant amount of damage, sure, but it's not, so let's just quicken it and call it a day. We'll apply other meta magics later to it, like Embolden and anything that affects its DC, in addition to Quicken, but any kind of damaging meta I would not recommend applying to Earthquake. Alright, let's take a look at the Reaver trees. I forgot to spend them, so I had to recall out and do that. But I had enough points to go ahead and max out the Grim Barricade tree, so got lots of extra defenses, dodge. Actually, I'm already dodge capped, so really I'm just benefiting from hit points there. Point of con, some more reflex saves, some more PRR, spell penetration, that's just helping with my Finger of Death. Another point of wisdom, another DC to my spells in Reaver mode, and 6 more universal spell power. And then I had 1 more point, and I picked up a point of dex over here. So that's pretty cool. On the quest side, I've only done a couple 17s so far, and obviously I ran them without my Reaver points spent. Without all of them spent anyways. And I had done Good Intentions and Lord of Stone. Did Good Intentions duo with a guildie of mine, and Lord of Stone was in a full group. Did those both on R5. Let's see, we did Sharn Chain 2 for level 16s after that last episode. I think we already had the Cog 16s done by that point. We also did Lords of Dust. We did that one on R10 in a full group. That's always fun to, when we live streamed it too, it's always fun to do that one on R10. It's easier to do on High Skulls than some other quests. And then we did Servants of the Overlord, Spinner Shadows, just Spinner on R2, make it nice and easy. And then I did a couple Wayloon ones, Army and Thrill. And then I was capped after that, I think. So here I'm at 17s. Let's do the quest. I'm going to go ahead and try to solo it on R2. I don't think I've ever tried to solo it on R2 before. I believe I have soloed it on R1, and I'm not really worried about it at all, except for the end fight, which is a giant pain in the ass. Now, something I want you to notice is that when, I'm in Water Elemental form, and I don't have the mantle applied, so what I will need to do is switch back and forth, or I can just turn Water Elemental off and then back on, and it will apply it. So, if you don't have the spell memorized, which you kind of don't really need to, at least it's not a priority anymore. Before it was a priority once you got level 9 spells, but not anymore because you can get it automatically. But make sure that it is applied by switching into Water Elemental form, or switching out and back when you're stepping into a quest. But yeah, the end fight here is tough, and I really, I'm not sure. I'm not sure how it's going to go, so this is an experiment, and we'll see what happens. I might get obliterated in the end fight and have to recall out and do it on R1. And I don't think I've done a video of this one since Reaper mode came out. I have some videos of it, me doing it on Elite before Reaper mode, but let's see, we'll intimidate this guy and get the key from him. If you piss him off, and then these kobolds become active, but they're like level 1 kobolds. And I can only imagine, when this content come out, people at the beginning of this are probably like, what? This must be a joke, like something's bugged, because these first kobolds are so weak, but then you get, later on to the Paragon kobolds, and, right after this beginning part, there's a shrine right there you can save for later if you want to. And then the end fight, has always been an ass kicker to this day. In fact, all the quests out here to this day, they hold up really nicely in terms of their difficulty. Some older content just doesn't hold up that well in terms of difficulty, but the Reaver's Refuge pack does. Unfortunately, pretty much all the loot out of here is irrelevant now. I mean, this used to be, back in the day, you got your Dragon Touched armor. When the level cap was 20, that was endgame armor. And I remember farming endlessly for that, trying to get it, just crafted just right. But Dragon Touched armor It's, you know, you could probably craft something that was useful, but it's also probably not worth the time. We'll do an ice storm there, dragging everything together. And we'll do Storm of Vengeance. And we'll just let the ice storm do its magic. Clean up mobs with our SLAs, grab our remnant, and keep moving. Ice storm again. I did put on the fire shield because I knew I was going to be fighting these fire mobs, and there's going to be a fire elemental. You know, when you're in cold elemental form, water elemental form, you take additional damage from cold, but you have 65% cold absorption, and vice versa for fire form. Famine Reaper, that means put on our spell absorption. Cold spray, make him even more vulnerable to cold. Let's go ahead and hit him with a creeping doom that'll splash onto the mephits. I won't really have to do much of anything because the ice storm and the creeping doom will finish them off. It's a Carney, it's just an R2 Carney. Like I said, I'm not really worried about any part of this up until the end fight. This should be pretty easy up till then. See how much of this stuff we can drag up here, huh? Throw an Earthquake, Ice Storm, Sleet Storm. Oh, let's throw the Obscuring Darkness. We don't want to forget to do that. Double shot them with Sunburst, blind everything. They're falling, they're tripping, they're blinded. They don't know what's going on, do they? These poor little wolves. I'm a terrible druid, but they attacked me first. Darkness 2. Another Sunburst. Do a Scorch in there. We could do a Creeping Doom that splashes onto everything around it. Oh, souls. Yummy. Soul of Cruelty. Let's finger him. Hell yeah. Let's finger him too. So our whole, personal hurricane is in full effect now, and that's going to be the Earthquake, Sleet Storm, Ice Storm, Storm of Vengeance, Double Sunburst. I mean, we're throwing all the elements at them. We're just like a walking natural disaster. Or, like I said once before, I call this build a caster healer quasi-tank, but if I could go back You know, I posted that post back in, what, like 2013 or 24, you know, whatever. Yeah, I would have renamed it the Shitstorm build. Because it's really, you know, we're just throwing a shitstorm at them once we get all of our spells going. And that's the way I like to play. Alright, we're going to go ahead and use this shrine. The shrine is timed. I don't know how long it lasts, but it's not very long. I think it's just like a couple of minutes. It's kind of weird. And it's also weird that it appears down here and up here. But it's like, this, oh, I guess it's not the same shrine. It's like I can use them both. It's just, I don't know why they did that. But it is what it is. Oh, I lost my mantle, so I'm going to switch into fire and then back into water so that it gets reapplied. I'm going to hit him with the Creeping Cold SLA that applies that debuff right there, -4 to fort save, and then I'm going to finger him. Bam! You know, it's almost like, you know, kind of the same thing like a wizard or sorcerer would do, or even like a favorite soul or cleric, where they would first, you know, if their DC wasn't great, you can first hit them with like an energy drain or an enervation before you throw your, you know, your finger of death or your destruction in the case of the divines. So we got the key there, we pulled that lever, now we're jumping down. Now we're going to fight a bunch of wolves. A horde of wolves. But we're gonna do the same shitstorm. And we just, you know, be patient and let it do its thing. If, you know, there are mobs that aren't falling as quickly, you can, you know, start single targeting them and picking them off with your SLAs. But this is just R2, so it's gonna watch the trap here. You want to jump, otherwise you fall into that nasty spike trap or pit. But yeah, just R2 is the AoEs are gonna pretty much kill everything. Let's kite these guys and these guys. Reaver power boost, earthquake, ice storm. How about some obscuring darkness? How about 2 sunbursts? How about sleet storm? How about storm of vengeance? I mean, it's really just overkill at this point. Do they even have a chance? I'm gonna fill up my mana bar with all those yummy lost souls, take a mysterious remnant, and get the hell out of Dodge. The rest of this stuff, you know, if it follows me, fine, we'll kill it. Otherwise, we're just going. Earthquake, ice storm, obscuring darkness, sleet storm, double sunburst. Our Storm of Vengeance is a timer. It's such a long timer. It's, you know, one of the things that, you know, when I was on the Players' Council during the Druid Pass, and I specifically requested, you know, I heard they were going to do the Druid Pass, and I said, can I get back on the Council? You know, I really want to be a part of that. And I tried to get the devs to lower the cooldown of Storm of Vengeance, because, you know, it's a cool spell, but it's in no way so powerful that it warrants a 1-minute cooldown. And there's no reason that shouldn't just be like 10 seconds or something. You know, it's just like a higher level version of Ice Storm or something like that. But they didn't want to. And then the SLA version has a 2-minute cooldown. Like, come on. It's ridiculous. To this day, it just baffles me as to why that spell has a 1-minute cooldown. Like it's some Whale of Banshee or something, you know? I mean, give me a break. But that's what it is. So when you get the SLA next level, you have one that's on a 1-minute cooldown, you know, the regular spell, and the SLA is on a 2-minute cooldown. So having both of them helps to mitigate the long cooldown. So, that's one of the things I mentioned when people talk to me about, like, can I, put 3 levels of fighter in there or something like that. Realize that, that's one of the things you're going to lose. But, you can multi-class if you want to. All right, just in case you don't know how this puzzle works, I'm going to explain it to you. You want to light all the lights, and these little crystals with the color orbs around them, they will teleport you. And by the way, everybody sees these colors differently. And this isn't some like perception of colors thing. It's just like for whatever reason the colors just sort of appear random to on different screens. Okay, so like if you're telling your buddy, if you're over here and you're like, hey, hit the blue one, he's like, I don't see a blue one. It's because for him, they're like yellow and green or something. So the colors, don't think you can describe them by color to your friends. So maybe they did that on purpose to screw people up, or maybe it's just sort of an accident of the coding. I don't know. The way they're going to teleport you is 2 forward and 1 to the side. So if I hit this one to the left, the one that I see as purple with the blue, it's going to send me 2 forward and then 1 to the left, and it'll put me right there. If I hit the one on the right, it'll send me 2 forward and 1 to the right, and I'll end up right there. Okay. This one, there's not a teleporter on the left, and it sent me 2 forward and 1 to the left. 1 to the right. See? That's where we started. Okay. So they're all unlit right now, so I can go just about anywhere. So I'm going to hit that one, which is going to take me 2 forward and 1 to the right, which is right there. Okay. And now I'm just going to look for another one that's not lit. That one's not lit, so I'm going to go 2 forward and 1 to the left by stepping on this one. Another thing that makes this puzzle confusing is because every time you get teleported, it changes the direction you're facing, so it's really easy to lose your bearings in here. So let's see, that one's not lit, so this one will take us 2 forward, and, oops, 1, 2, wait, 1, 2, I think that's gonna, yeah, that was the one that was already, okay. So here we're gonna go there, 2 forward and 1 to the right, bam, and then we're gonna go look around for another one. There's 2 forward, 1 to the left. So that one. 2 forward, 1 to the right. That one right there is not lit. Do that one. It's like a, like a knight in chess, if you play chess. Right there, 2 forward, 1 to the left. That one's not lit. Make sure when you leave the room it's lit. If it's already lit, you're going to toggle it off. So 2 forward, 1 to the right. That one's not lit. You'll get a DM message when they're all toggled. I can see there's 1 3 over there that needs to be lit. So here's what I'm going to do. Ooh, that way too. So we're going to go here. Jump again. Let's have a look-see around. Oh, that one's needs to be lit. So 2 forward, 1 to the right. We'll go here. Right. And then that one. Ooh, a lot of them still. Okay, so we're going to go here. And then there. And then there. And then there. And then there. Just looking for the ones that are unlit and finding a way to them. Okay, I'm going to go here. So it's going to take me a few moves to get there. So I'm going to go there first. Make sure I jump. And now it's 2 spaces over for me. I'm going to go there and then there. Watch my arrow. The way that I face will change when I teleport. See, it just like flipped me around. That's one of the things that makes this puzzle confusing. I'm going to go there and like that. Can't be too many left to be lit. I don't see any from here. Look, that one's lit. Make sure you leave the room with it lit. So let's just teleport out in the middle and have a look around. Jump to toggle it on. Okay, there's one we're missing somewhere. Those are lit. Those are lit. It's really hard to move to get a better angle because, you know, you move too much, you teleport by accident. I'm just not seeing. Let's go over here. And just move to a different spot, get a different angle of view, and well, what the hell? Let's go over here. There's one eluding us somewhere. That's the end, so it's not there. There it is. Okay, so what I'm going to do is a couple of moves to get there. So I'm going to go here. So it's 2 forward and 1 to the left, and then from here I'm going to go 2 forward and 1 to the right here, and then I'll go boom, boom. So it'll be 3 moves. 1, 2, and 3. Yay, we got it. And then I'm out. Boom. Okay, now if we want our extra chest, 2 moves, 1 and 2. And there's a bonus junk chest. Same way out, 1, then 2. Hirelings, and I believe summons will toggle those lights, so you know, be careful. You don't want to have like your wolf or summons and hirelings following you through there. It's just gonna mess it all up. Remember what I said? Reapers will get caught in an earthquake, but it's a little deceptive because they just don't move. You know, they don't fall down or anything like that. There's no visual cue that they're affected by it. They just don't move and they don't take any action. I didn't know that for a long time. I mean, Reaver mode had been out for like over a year before somebody told that to me. I just never realized it because you know, I didn't see anything happening. I mean, it makes sense that a Reaper isn't going to literally trip, but just never really thought about it. We'll go ahead and finger that guy. We're going to get a shrine soon anyways. Plus we got that shrine at the beginning, if we really wanted. I mean, this is the end coming up right here. This is the part that I'm worried about. I mean, it's been a cakewalk up to this point, right? But this end fight, oh man, it used to be so brutal back in the day. Do I still have my cargo resist fire? That's the one cargo buff I picked up before I came out here. I do, so I'm good there. You know, back in the day, this used to be so brutal. People would run this quest on casual once casual came out. Then they actually toned down the end fight, but it would still, you know, it will still jack a noob. It will still jack an unsuspecting party that just comes in here thinking they're just going to, you know, blow it off. But if you got like a high evasion, you know, monk or something like that, beating on the bosses, you're good to go. So I'm going to put on my fire shield. Okay, and then I'm going to eat my candies. I'm going to go ahead and use my Reveler's Regalia Clicky. It gives me 25% bonus to spell critical damage the last 90 seconds. And not to forget to put on my regular armor. And the Clicky's on a robe. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and hit that so it can regenerate some spell points. And we're just going to go for it. There's just so many mobs in here, so easy to get overwhelmed. If I have a group, you know, I like to send everybody up there, and then I'll just run around in the lava, kiting all the trash mobs with me, but I don't have that option. Okay, we hit them with the cold spray, then all 4 dots, Creeping Cold, Greater Creeping Cold, Creeping Doom, and Enveloping Swarm, and we'll throw AoEs. Those delayed blast fireballs should get chewed up by Greater Creeping Cold. Gonna have to power through it, you know? Hey, there's Peripnon, the other boss. Hit him with Greater Creeping Cold, Creeping Doom, Enveloping Swarm. Okay, is this Saga dead? I don't know. I don't see him. Gotta refresh the fire shield. This trash just keeps respawning too, so no time to dawdle. That's what Selima says. Okay, so that's actually pretty easy. But no doubt having, 83 Reaver points was a big help there. I'm pretty damn sure that if I had like 5 Reaver points, I could not have come in here and sold this on R2. But it was fun to do it and capture that on video. I almost said let's try it on R3, but I've had some long quests in the last few episodes, so I didn't want to, they don't all need to be pushing the limits. And like I said, I really didn't know what to expect, so I wanted to see how it worked out. And there you have it. Solo R2, Enter the Kobold. It's not bad XP, actually. But I don't include it as part of my regular routine because it's a lot harder to step up the difficulty, and I want to do, I want to do quests on R5, typically. So, but we got 47,000 XP. I don't even have a pot going, so that's a decent amount of XP in 24 minutes and 0 seconds, and I was really just kind of, taking my time, being pretty casual about everything. So, yeah, it's a decent amount of XP for the time spent. Hey, thanks for watching. This chest is locked, by the way. If you have any questions about my build, you can respond to my build post in the Druid forum. If you have any questions about my videos, you can respond on YouTube.